That's about this is LaserBolt, and welcome to another No BS review. Today we're going to be diving in and taking a look at Battlefield 2042. Hence, being a No BS review, I'm going to give you the score of the actual review. But if you guys want to know exactly how we got to that conclusion and why, you're definitely going to want to make sure you watch the rest of the video. Battlefield 2042 gets a 7 out of 10. Fortunately, I wanted to give it a higher score, guys, and I think it will have a higher score later down the road, maybe 6 to 1 year from now, but unfortunately, currently right now in the state, I have to give it a 7. I wanted to give it a 7.5, but I don't know, man. Alright, so let's talk about how we actually got to that number. If you guys are a Battlefield fan, you're definitely going to want to hear this out because there might be a lot of things you expect from a Battlefield game, and I got to tell you guys, a lot of stuff has gone missing. Number one, let's start off with the campaign. Number two, the amount of weapons we get in this game are only 22. We've become accustomed to playing Battlefield games with an extensive amount of weapons. Number three, we no longer have classes, we now have specialists. And of course, number four, we have a very, very clunky UI. Now, with that being said, let's talk about the stuff that you could expect that you're definitely going to enjoy. And something that I always got to mention about Battlefield games and DICE, their building of maps is amazing, astonishing. One of the best companies to build maps. Not only do they look gorgeous, but in addition to that, they're so big. They have so much weather physics that tie in perfectly to the game and make the game and the map look amazing. I could never discredit them for the quality of the work they do when it comes to making visuals and maps. And that's why this game visually, it looks amazing. But performance-wise, guys, that is where I have an issue. If you own a PC, whether you own a 1080p, whether you own a 2080p or a 3090p, it doesn't really matter, guys, because your performance is going to be lacking regardless of what type of graphic card you have. Now, it all depends on how many people you're playing with. If you're playing with the max of 100 plus, you're going to have a hard time hitting constant frame rates. Now, if you're playing with 64 players, this is actually where it shines. And I think they should have just left it at 64 players. Even the maps are extremely huge for 64 players. Even playing with 100 players, guys, on Conquest, it's still the maps are just way too big. It seems like you're always alone. Plus, in addition to that, everybody's fighting in the same area. So, performance-wise, I think the game needs a vastly improvement. I'm pretty sure they're going to polish that in a couple of months. Alright, so now let's go ahead and talk about the game modes. Now, before I get into the game modes, I do want to let you guys know that Battlefield 2042 is a live service game. That means that throughout the years, they plans to be introducing new game modes, new features, and we'll talk a little bit about the live service aspect a little bit further in the video. But now let's talk about the game modes. It comes with a total of 3 game modes. Number 1 is All Out Warfare. This is pretty much Conquest and Breakthrough, which features the largest maps in the game's history. In addition to that, it's going to let you play with up to 128 players. And like I said prior to this, one of the biggest downsides of these particular modes is the fact that it's not able to keep the frame rate. In addition to that, it seems like the maps are extremely big and everybody's centralized in one specific area. It makes it hard to find enemies sometimes when you're playing the game. The next one we're going to be talking about, of course, is the Hazard Zone. This is the one that everybody was anticipating, and this is pretty much a PvE, PvP aspect of the game, very similar to the Division's Dark Zone and, of course, Tarkov. Unfortunately, those seem to have better understanding of the PvE, PvP concept than Hazard Zone. Hazard Zone is actually a very fun mode, but I have to say and give you the warning, if you're a solo player and you plan on playing Hazard Zone, I would actually avoid it because you're going to have a very frustrating time. In addition to that, when you play with a team, it actually could be quite fun. And I feel like this is the reason why we have specialists and not classes in the game. I think there was a big focal point, and I believe that the foundation of Battlefield 2042 was actually this mode in play. And it kind of leads me up to the rumors that we had prior to this, where they said that the game actually started as a battle royale and then it transitioned to what it is now. And as you guys may know, this is no longer your typical Battlefield. Now it's more in a hero type shooter game, hence why we have classes. I feel like this particular mode could be very good as long as it was well polished and it had a lot of replayability incentives. As of right now, the incentives are not there for so much replayability. Yes, it does help you to level up guns and you're able to acquire different items. But after that, if you compare it to the other modes that are very similar and that are already heavy invested on the survivalist mode, then you'll notice that this is very lackluster and is missing quite a lot. I feel like in the future, this actually might be a really good mode, but they have to build their own maps for Hazard Zones because the maps that they're recycling right now with the ones they have do not coincide perfectly with this mode, that sometimes the maps can be too big and it takes forever to find a battle. The last one we're going to be talking about is Battlefield Portal. Now, Portal has got to be the best option they could put out in the game. This is by far I would say out of all these modes, this is by far the best one. Now, the reason why this is the best one, it gives you so much extensive customability. It also allows the community to come together and make a really good, amazing mode. And it gives a lot of replayability to not only Battlefield 2042, but previous Battlefield games. And it allows you to play around with those guns from those games in the brand new engine, bringing all those games up to next-gen consoles and, of course, next-gen graphics. To be fair, I think the game should have changed its name from Battlefield 2042 to Battlefield Portal. I think that would have made the game a little bit more of justice, because Portal is definitely the biggest shining aspect of this game. All right, so now let's talk about the pros and the cons and how we actually arrived to that 7 out of 10 number. Now, guys, the gunplay on the game actually is pretty good. It reminds me a lot of the previous Battlefields, pretty beefy weapons, and the power that comes out of those weapons feel really good, not only when you're shooting it, but also when you're hearing it on your headphones. Once again, guys, big kudos to DICE. They put out very beautiful maps. The maps are gorgeous to look at. In addition to that, the graphics look really good when you're playing with the right amount of players. In addition to that, guys, the whole weather effects, the tornado and the storm and all that stuff work really well. Even though it's a little bit gimmicky because there really isn't a purpose for them, they still look really dope and amazing and look really good if you have a next-gen console or if you have a high-end PC. Once again, guys, we definitely got to give kudos for Portal, because Portal does give you the option to play with different guns from previous games. It also lets you bring old content that you enjoyed and loved from previous Battlefield games to the brand new engine and Frostbite, so it makes everything look beautiful and nice, allowing you to be able to bring those guns and relive moments that you had in the past. In addition to that, guys, the ability of being able to customize almost every single aspect of what type of game you want to play. I think anytime you give the community tools to make the game better or to enhance modes, it's always a plus for any dev, because this not only gives the devs better ideas and creativity to actually what to put in the game, but it also has the community band together and support each other on creating really awesome content. All right, so now on to the cons, guys. This is what actually brought a couple numbers down, and I was about to give it an 8 out of 10, but I think one of the biggest things that kind of threw me off just a tad bit when actually playing the game was the inability to actually include a scoreboard. Yes, you heard it correctly, a scoreboard in the game. How are you going to release a first-person shooter, tactical shooter game without a scoreboard? Really? You're not able to server browse and see the scoreboard. Like, how? How is that even a thing? Even though they recently came out later today to clarify that this will be included later, but you cannot release a game like this without a scoreboard. I think that I was about to give it an 8, and it was like, bam. Like I said prior to the review, I think this game in particular, if you give it at least 6 months, it would definitely hit that 8 to 9 mark, or if anything else gets added to the game. But as of right now, 7 out of 10, I think it's a perfect number for this game. In addition to that, guys, how can you get the community of Battlefield so accustomed to having a ton of weapons and only give them 22 at launch? This is the reason why I feel that the live service aspect of the game was done incorrectly from Battlefield, because instead of giving the community more, they took away less, and now they're putting it behind a particular paywall like a battle pass and any other microtransaction that might come our way with future updates. So I feel if they would have taken the Call of Duty route, I know you guys, I shouldn't be comparing it, right? If they would have taken the Call of Duty route where they gave a free game mode and then gave the base game and forced people to buy the base game just to level up guns, would have been a more creative and a better incentive for the lightsabers game aspect of the game. Another thing that actually really threw me off was the UI, and you guys are going to notice this when you're playing the game. If you want to go ahead and add attachments to your weapon, you have to go through so many menus and so many options to be able to customize your loadout. If you're going into the match, you got to go into another menu. It's like menu after menu after menu after menu, and it seems like the quick access button, which they included, was retroactive of how much stuff you need to do to actually get into a game. Another thing that really didn't make it sense, and this is particularly just for the hazard zone mode, is the fact that you add the hazard zone mode, you allow solo players to queue up, but you don't give them an option to communicate. There is no VOD option in the game as of right now. This might come in the future, but how do you launch a survival mode with multiplayer and multi-people playing at the same time, co-op, and not give them the option to talk over the voice option via the game, especially if you're actually allowing people to do crossplay? That just didn't make sense. Apart from that, guys, the game is pretty solid, and like I said, I do feel like if you give this 6 months to a year, this game will be very, very solid, and a lot of people will come back and play the game. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people will if this gets a price reduction and we get a free game mode that everybody's able to play and level up guns and force them to purchase the game so they can get better weapons. And they did say it earlier that they were going to test out to see how Hazard Zone did to see if they needed to introduce a Battle Royale option to the game. Now, I was extremely excited for Battlefield 2042, but I hope that 6 months to a year thing that we have to wait to actually get really good content and give us a lot of replayability might be just a little bit too long because there might be other games coming along. I hope not, because I do love Battlefield and I know you guys love it as well. So hopefully they're able to fix a lot of things and make it faster than usual so we can enjoy Battlefield this year and the coming years to come. And there you guys have it. That is our no BS review for Battlefield 2042. I hope you guys are enjoying the content here at the channel. If you are, do me a huge favor, guys, drop a comment, drop a like. But most importantly, subscribe to the channel, turn on all your notifications so you guys won't miss when our videos go live. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.